So let's get started. The overview today looks like this. I'll just quickly introduce the opportunity, present the timeline, go over the application process and how we will assess applications, eligibility, and a very quick overview of the expression of interest form, followed by Q&A. I should say as well, thank you very much to Johanna Bischoff, Maddie Parsons and Marco Marcello, who are on the call as well to answer any questions around Euro-BioImaging, UK Node, etc. So the aim of this call is to expand the existing UK Node of Biological Imaging, which is a shared bioimaging infrastructure within the UK, and allow scientific questions to be answered with the best available tools. Also, we want to open up opportunities for bioimaging skills and knowledge exchange within the UK and with Euro-BioImaging. The three key organisations involved are Bioimaging UK, UKRI BBSRC and UKRI MRC, as well as Euro-BioImaging. So you probably all know this, but yeah, Bioimaging UK is a community-driven organisation of UK scientists that use, develop or administer imaging solutions for life science research, and we're a community partner of UKRI, BBSRC and MRC, and we get funded as well by those two, plus EPSRC, plus Royal Microscopical Society. As you're all aware, UKRI, BBSRC and MRC are non-departmental public bodies funded by a grant in aid from the UK government. They invest in world-class bioscience and medical research and training on behalf of the UK public, and their aim is to promote scientific knowledge, economic growth, wealth and job creation in the UK and beyond. And finally, Euro-BioImaging is providing open access to imaging instruments, expertise, training opportunities and data management services through their nodes in their partner countries and institutions. It's been an ERIC, a European Research Infrastructure Consortium, since 2019, and they aim to foster liaison and cooperation across all their of all the stakeholders across academia, industry and national and European authorities. It's important to note that this call is not being run in direct association with Euro-BioImaging. However, it's very close association, it's not direct. So any successful applicants to our call will be nominated to Euro-BioImaging as UK candidate notes to formally join the ERIC through the Euro-BioImaging node upgrade process. So a little bit more about Euro-BioImaging. It's a distributed research infrastructure across 18 countries in Europe, as well as EMBL. That is made up of 41 nodes, which is made up of 237 sites. There's more than 100 technologies on offer. It's publicly funded, not for profit, and the website is shown on the slide as well. In terms of their technology portfolio, they span from atomic up to organismal and human, whole body human imaging. But for the purpose of today's webinar, we are focusing on the biological imaging. So they separate their portfolio into biological and biomedical. The biomedical are on the right-hand side, preclinical and human, and this is the focus of more Zoom calls this month and next month, where we have to undergo a slightly different process to bring in biomedical technologies into the UK node. But if you're interested in that and you've not got the details, please email me. There are two chances to take part, one in October and one in November, where we'll be consulting with the biomedical community in the UK. However, for today's webinar, where we're focusing on biological imaging, we're focusing really on the left-hand side of the slide, where we have light microscopy, electron microscopy, atomic force microscopy, elemental imaging, etc. And how does it work? Well, there are two kinds of users, I would say. It's the cold user that directly request access through the Euro-BioImaging info at Euro-BioImaging email address, for example, or the warm users that have already been in contact with a facility that's part of the node and have agreed a work plan and a project, and they on that, for that kind of proposal, the review is more light touch than the first one, because the facility has approved the project. But where it's important to get scientific and technical review when cold users come, so that we don't so that we don't waste people's time there. And this is what the current UK node looks like for biological imaging. So 2022 we did the pilot call, and in 2023 the 7 sites that were selected became part of Euro-BioImaging, operational as Euro-BioImaging sites. So there are 7 sites, which are 14 facilities, more than 25 technologies, about 50 staff, and last year they hosted 400 external users. Just quickly, so this is the Edinburgh Super Resolution Imaging Consortium, also known as ESRIC, a collaboration between Heriot-Watt and Edinburgh universities. As the name suggests, they're focusing on the super resolution techniques. Then moving clockwise, we have York University, which offer a wide range of LM, EM, tychography, holography techniques. Oxford Brookes, which are focusing on the volume EM techniques, specifically serial block face, have expertise in CL2 level imaging, in particular imaging parasites. Then in 2 sites in London, we've got King's, again, similar to York, EM, LM, metabolomics, sort of Raman, mass spec, for example, and others. And then at the Crick, they're just focusing on volume imaging in light microscopy, so HRM and light sheet. And then at the research campus at Harwell, part of the Central Laser Facility, the Octopus group offer access to high-end EM and LM techniques as well. And finally, Liverpool, again, with a wide range EM, LM, imaging mass cytometry, AFM, TURF, for example. So what are the benefits of joining, being part of the UK node? These are not weighted in order, just a list we put together. So it gives you an international sort of badge of external validation, I would say. So if you get through the process, you'll be recognised as an internationally leading imaging site and have strong association with the other 41 nodes. There is some funding available, not directly through this call, but through a previous grant that we wrote. We have some funds to support the professional development of core facility staff, as well as support user access projects. And Euro-BioImaging worked really, really hard to access EU infrastructure funding and sustain the growth and capacity of the access. A fantastic benefit is the wonderful chances to meet your peers across Europe. So every year there's an all-hands meeting which moves around generally Germany, Finland and Italy, but I don't think that's other sites are welcome. It's just where the seats of the different offices sit. So that's a really good opportunity to promote knowledge exchange, sharing of best practice between around 500 Euro-BioImaging facility staff. They also have dedicated industry partnering events, facilitating networks with commercial users. There's access to specialised support services, so the UK node will have a dedicated data steward. Euro-BioImaging also has a dedicated data steward, and they can provide training and guidance for depositing data in repositories, upskilling facility staff in fair data principles and open science practices. And last but not least, hopefully being part of Euro-BioImaging will lead to an increased user base for your facility. So you'll get more visibility worldwide, and you can get support in user project evaluation, management and quality assurance frameworks, and user satisfaction monitoring. So in terms of eligibility, this call is open to all UK-based imaging facilities who can offer sufficient capacity for use by Euro-BioImaging members, and that, as you will have seen in the form, is 20%. The lead applicant should be eligible to receive UKRI funding and be associated with a UK imaging facility. If you're not sure of that, check the UKRI grants guide or email me. Most of the user base that you're proposing and talking about in the form should be undertaking biological research in areas of UKRI, BBSRC or MRC remit. And you can apply as a single facility or as a group of facilities, as long as that network offers added value above access to a single site. So here's the timeline. It opened a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and it will close in just under 2 months on the 2nd of December at 4 p.m. We've scheduled the panel review for the 26th of January, and we expect decisions to be communicated in February. But as I mentioned, this is not the end of the process. Then the selected sites will go forward to Euro-BioImaging under their node upgrade application. So we'll have to compile one application containing the successful sites here. We're not entirely sure of the timelines. There's quite a few moving parts to get the Euro-BioImaging Scientific Advisory Board together to review and to ratify the suggested sites. But it will be in 2026, and hopefully definitely within 6 months of February, I think. So what are we looking for in new sites? We are interested in all these 9 points. Again, not necessarily weighted here. Scientific and technical excellence needs to be demonstrated. Also that you've got track record of supporting user access, particularly external user access, that your facility is supported for the next 5 years by your host institution, that you'll be adding value to research with whatever you're bringing. There might be some aspect of a strategic portfolio value. Very important as well is training capability and capacity, effective facility administration to have a smooth user journey, and we request that sites are actively engaging with the community nationally and internationally. So just to go a little bit into those different points again, scientific and technical excellence can be, evidence can be used to confirm your statements in the form of user statements, either existing users or users that intend to use your facility, publications or other evidence such as technology development or collaborations. In added value and innovation, for example, it could be a methodological expertise that you have, advanced sample prep that you've developed or support, good data analysis and management support. These would all be added value. User access, it's the ability to show that you accept, support, manage external users effectively, have clear access procedures and user journey planning. In terms of sustainability, maintenance strategies, QC and admin arrangements over the next 5 years. Training, again, show that you're running training courses, that you have capacity to train new people, and all this will eventually contribute to skill development in the UK. And finally, commitment to engage with national and international imaging communities, including with strategic aligning with strategic UKRI priorities and Euro-BioImaging aims. So in terms of the form, I'm not going to go over anything that's in the main body of the form. If you have questions, you can ask. Just to say that the attachments are important, and we've changed them slightly from last time, hopefully to make it less burdensome for you. So now we ask that you can do letters of support from Node users for users that intend to use the node, or from existing users. And you can see here, these two should be no more than 5 letters. So we ask you to choose carefully those 5 that best showcase what you're saying in your application form. And then I have to make an apology here, because if you downloaded the expression of interest form prior to, let's say, last week, there was a typo in this box. This is a screenshot of the box, and it said 2026 because it came across from the first call. So please, download the new form. That's not so important, but it must be that the letter from your host institution confirming that you confirming their support for your application for the next 5 years is clear. The letter of commitment must go till 2030. And finally, for the attachments, we are asking you to list up to 5 publications, outputs or activities in support of excellence statements. That was 10 before, but we've cut that down to 5. So again, please please consider which are the best to show off your facility. And then that's me sort of done. Just finally, to summarise what I've said, this call is open to all UK-based biological imaging facilities who can offer sufficient capacity, at least 20% of your capacity, up to Euro-BioImaging users. Can apply as a single facility or a group by emailing the expression of interest form to me by the 2nd of December this year at 4 p.m. So if you have any questions that you think of later, just email me, georgina@rms.org.uk. And again, just a reminder, if you want to ask a question, there are 2 ways. You can type into the Q&A, or you can hopefully raise a hand and I will ask you to unmute, and you can vocalize the question, which is sometimes a lot easier than typing. So we don't mind. Just to say thank you to Marco Marcello, who's part of the University of Liverpool, part of the UK Node already. He's around for the next sort of 5-10 minutes. He's also offered, if people have questions that they think of afterwards, they're welcome to email Marco as well. So this is now the point for any questions. So I'll stop my sharing and we'll try and do this. Not used to webinar settings, so let's see. Any questions? We'll be doing a frequently asked question doc, and I'll be popping that on the website as well as the link to this. Okay, so over to John. I'm going to allow you to talk. Does that work?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I wanted to ask, with the limit of 5 letters of support from existing or future users, is that a limit if you're applying as a group of facilities? Is that a limit for all the facilities together, or is that a limit for individual facilities, 5 each?
I will let Maddie answer that. I think I know what she'll say, but just to be sure.
So I think we're limiting it to 5 per application. So
Okay.
I think unless you've got a very strong reason why, if there's 15 facilities in there and you think 5 won't cover off all the amazing things you want to say, please let us know, because we would like to make sure that you're in a position to be able to tell us as much information as you can. But I think we would like to stick to 5 if we can.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. I'm going to mute you now. I've got the power. And now we have a question from Paolo.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. As administrators of this call, do you have an idea or a vision about how larger you expect the network of nodes to become in the UK?
Maddie, I'll let you answer that.
So I think in answer to that, Paolo, we would like it to be as big as it can be, because I think this offers, as George said, it offers fantastic opportunities to our technical staff, to our universities, to our nodes, to our excellent capabilities that we know we have in the UK. So we would like to welcome as many people as we can. Obviously, we are guided by the criteria that Euro-BioImaging set and that we have set on our node. So we will be using those as guidance to decide how many new sites come in, but ultimately we would like to welcome as many as we can. So we don't have a set number, we don't have a cap. We are just trying to make sure that we can grow the node as appropriately as possible and to support as many great facilities across the UK as we can.
Sorry, Paolo, I took you off there by mistake. If you want to comment.
No, just thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Sorry about that. I was trying to do something else. I will, be here for few. Oh, my internet.
Yeah, you just dropped out for a sec, George, but
Okay.
Don't worry, you're back. I think we've got a question from Antonina. Antonina, I don't know if you want to unmute and ask it, or I can do it for you. Were there any technological areas or geographical areas you're trying to cover? We were sort of anticipating this question. So geographically, no. As I said before, I think we would just like to cover as many possible sites as we can. Technological areas, Johanna, I don't know if you want to say something about that with respect to Euro-BioImaging, but also more broadly about how the other nodes across the member states are set up.
Yeah, absolutely. I can comment on that. So, I mean, this is just to sort of frame this, right? Like, I'm here from the Euro-BioImaging side at this stage, really just providing sort of advice, opinions without sort of any deep impact. This is a UK-based decision at this stage, because the constitution of the nodes at the national level and the application that is put forward is really the decision based on the national level, and it then gets evaluated by our scientific advisory board. So, but with that disclaimer in place, to say it's not a trivial question, because of course we can see that the UK node portfolio already is quite comprehensive, but there is always the call exists because there is both interest in new technologies as well as new capacities for existing technologies that are highly requested. So I mean, the very simple question is always, right, like, okay, probably a confocal, standard confocal, not what we're looking for. But of course, it always depends on what you do with the technologies. So we have facilities that we were very excited to bring on board that had it's a confocal, but it's a confocal that sort of turned on its side to image plants in their like natural growth direction. It's like, technology-wise, that's maybe not the most exciting, but then it's designed for a certain application. So those things, there's always this balance of what the technology is as well as what the applications are, and trying to put this together in sort of a way that tells a coherent story. I think this is how I would think about this for the application. Sort of in terms of where we are seeing a lot of demand at the moment. So this is just sort of what we're seeing at the European level. This doesn't necessarily have to impact the decision on what facilities come on board, but we see a lot of demand especially on the electron microscopy side, anything with spatial omics, imaging in this direction. Image analysis is a big draw, big demand area. Sort of smart microscopy, higher throughput screening, these kind of things. Those are areas of significant interest from our user population. And we really try and cover as broad of a range of like applications as possible. So infectious diseases, cell biology, cancer, neuroscience, but also, you know, like if you have a big focus on plant imaging, or you work a lot with your material science department, or with archaeologists, or, you know, whatever. Right? Like sometimes having a few unusual applications can make in these kind of applications can also be a useful thing to stand out towards the evaluation panel. Yeah, sorry, I've been now rambling on. I hope this was vaguely helpful, but let me know if you have any follow-up questions.
Yeah, that was really helpful. Thank you. Antonina, you're welcome to put your hand up and ask something further if you want. But in the meantime, we've had another Q&A. I don't think attendees can see these, so I'm just going to read it out. It's not attributed to anybody. If you want to attribute it, just put your hand up. I'm not sure if people are used to these sort of webinar settings. So the question is, with regards to technical excellence / maintenance strategies, is it limited to how things are currently going at the facility, or is it more the vision in the coming years, e.g. new staff, new expertise onboarded?
Yeah. So I can answer that, and then maybe Johanna can also pitch in. So the expectation is that the application is coming from a site that has sufficient capacity and capability now to support the users. So it's great if that facility and that organization that hosts that facility is looking forward to boosting that and so on. But if we can't see evidence that it's possible for that facility to support the users right now in all of the ways that Euro-BioImaging value and that we value in the UK node, then that facility would probably not be successful through the application. I think that was also something that we saw in the first pilot call that we put forward in 2022, and there were some sites that applied, and it was clear that they're just not able to support users at the level that we need. So I would say it's great if your organisation want to sort of support the facility in future, but if you're not able to really fulfil the criteria that we've outlined already, then it's probably not the right time for you to apply for this. Johanna, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to that.
Yeah, I think that's very much what I was going to say. Like the scientific advisory board does look significantly at sort of track record and at current capacity when it comes to making these decisions. Of course, if you have already sort of very concrete plans for immediate next steps, that can be an added value to highlight, but it can't be purely hypothetical capacities or expertise, essentially.
Yeah. Thanks, Johanna.
Thank you. Hopefully that was clear enough. Again, welcome to do a follow-up question if not. So we have a question from Carlos Pinedo asking, can we provide insights, details into the parameters to demonstrate and evaluate site sustainability? Which is a good question.
It is a good question. So I think from this, we would like to see commitment from the host organisation. So, for example, if it's a facility that doesn't have continued sort of core funding from the organisation, if the staff are on very short-term contracts, if there's any uncertainty in the next few years that that facility will remain as an operational user support facility, then that would be a problem for us for obvious reasons, because we are setting this up. It's obviously a lot of work to upgrade our UK node, and we want to make sure that all sites that are part of our node are going to be part of that node for at least the next 5 years. And that should come in the form of a letter of support from the host organisation that confirms that underpinning support and sustainability of the facility. So I hope that makes sense. But let us know, Carlos, if you've got other questions about that, or if it doesn't make sense.
Can I comment on this as well, just to say sort of as then for the next step for the evaluation from the Euro-BioImaging side, that the scientific advisory board is also looking for things like evidence of like an instrument maintenance plan, or like do you have in place like service contracts? How do you approach this in the facility, like to show really what is your approach to planning these things long term for the next sort of 5 years, as Maddie now said, staffing levels, any sort of funding applications in the past to evidence that you're actively pursuing funding for equipment. These kind of things are sort of very concrete metrics that are that the scientific advisory board uses to look at these kind of things. Can also be things like ISO certification or these kind of other things that show that there is sort of things behind it from the institutional level.
Thank you very much. Another question in the Q&A is the facility expected to support the full imaging workflow, e.g. sample prep, actual imaging and then analysis for every technology that they offer, or sometimes do the users do these independently? Good question.
Yeah, I can see Marco is also typing an answer, I think, at the moment, but I can sort of start off and Johanna can answer that. So it depends on the user and it depends on the facility a little bit. I think we would like the facilities to be able to support the full journey. The analysis, I appreciate, can be difficult because not all facilities have dedicated image analysts, but as Johanna said, that's a growth area, and it's also something that we're trying to grow in the UK Node. So we would hope to be able to support that separately if the user needed additional, more bespoke analysis that facility couldn't provide, for example. But certainly as far as the sample prep and the training, the actual acquisition of the data, and hopefully also supporting sharing of that data, ultimately, we would expect the facility to be able to offer that. If the user comes in and is actually fairly skilled already, then they may not require so much support. So it's just like any other user that you might see coming to a facility. They'll come in at any stage, and we would expect the facility to be able to support that individual, irrespective of kind of how experienced they are. Johanna, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, so I think very much along the same lines. So it's it depends. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to have staff capacity to do the experiments for every single user. That's not the expectation. A lot of the users will come and get training to use the instruments themselves, even during those visits. That's part of why they want to come, and they want to learn those things. So that is an important aspect of this. But the capacity or the setup and the willingness to support the entire sort of user journey is important. And I think especially keeping in mind that a lot of the user access sort of in how we think about this on the Euro-BioImaging level is sort of transnational access. So somebody coming either from either across the UK or from a different country to your facility. And that means sort of the requirements, especially on the front end of the sample prep and the setup things, are like, you have to think about these a bit differently than somebody who just comes from, a floor above your facility, or, from the same department where, they can run back to their lab and grab whatever they forgot. But so having these support capacities, cell culture benches that are available, staining, specific sample prep things, or like if you're doing EM, like having microtomes and plunge freezers, or like depending on what the technology offers, for example. But that is, you have to think about this sort of in this real open access for external users context, what will be needed there.
Thank you. So we've just got a few more questions from Corinne Little. I'll start with the last one first. That's quite straightforward. I think it says, if you have node status, is access open to small and medium enterprises, SMEs? And that's a positive answer, yes. Industry and academic users from Europe and across the world are welcome to apply for access.
And actually, not just SMEs. So also, we also have the occasional large scale company that applies for access through our different facilities.
Yeah, thank you. And then would the node status be for 5 years? Is it renewed? And do ISO frameworks help a facility's case? So I think the ISO frameworks would help, as previously mentioned, to show sustainability, quality assurance. The node status for 5 years, it should be, yes. I don't know if you want to add anything on that, Maddie, because we're going to get reviewed.
Yes, we
in
are.
2 years.
Yeah, so Johanna might want to also mention this, but so all of the Euro-BioImaging nodes are reviewed. So we have a review coming up in 20, I can't remember when it's scheduled, Johanna, 27, I think.
27.
Yeah, I think you would be in the 27 round. Yeah.
Yeah, so and that looks at all sorts of different criteria, but largely it's the same criteria that we ask of our sites, and they want to make sure that we're maintaining technical and user support excellence. So the expectation would be that we would be reviewed again 5 years following, and I think that's sort of a normal cycle that the Euro-BioImaging team put all their nodes through, and it really is just to keep an eye on the node excellence and making sure that they're maintaining those standards. So the expectation is that the people joining the upgraded node would be part of that for at least 5 years, and we would hope to successfully go through the evaluation process at Euro-BioImaging again.
And can I just very quickly comment on the ISO aspect, just to say that that it can certainly help and make a case for certain user communities and everything, but I also don't want to give it like too much weight, because I mean I used it as an example, but I know that ISO frameworks are incredibly expensive and labor intense and do not in all facility contexts make sense. In some cases they can be incredibly useful, but we've had a lot of discussions around this across the node network. So it is a factor. It is certainly not a requirement or should be treated as such.
Thank you very much, both. So we have an anonymous question. Is there anything underway to bring together image analysts in the UK, which could help support individual UK nodes, current and future?
Yes, there is. George, do you want to say something more about that?
Yes, so, well, maybe first place to start is there is a channel on the Bioimaging UK Slack workspace, which is image analysts in the UK and Ireland. So if you're not in that channel, this is a place we're trying to communicate with everybody. Just email me and I will drop you the link. I don't think I can put it in the chat right now. But as part of that, and kind of through the raw microscopical DIME section, which is now, just had a change of chair. It's Alice Pine at the moment, but through that there is a group that have started to think about this, also to think about what France is doing, what Denmark are doing, and have some kind of central grouping for the UK image analysts. So we're just under discussion with getting an expression of interest. Would you like to be part of that group? And then we'll send it out publicly as far as we can, and people are welcome to express interest. So the Slack channel, being on the Bioimaging UK mailing list, they're the two places where you will find out more. But it's just it's not quite ready, but we're hoping to put it out like next week or something. So the answer is yes.
And
hopefully
I think
that answers your question.
Just to add to that, I think the idea there is to have a collective sort of group of image analysts, not only to connect those individuals across the UK, because it's very valuable for them to have sort of visibility as a group, but also because that could actually provide a coherent site. I mean, it would be a virtual site, of course, but it's sort of a coherent offering rather than individual facilities each having image analysts. It would be a group that could potentially have much greater capacity as a group to support external users than individual facilities can. So we've had several meetings with them and they're very enthusiastic. And as George said, I think we would like to get this out as far and wide as we can to encourage people to join that group and be part of that group. And there's various different ways to do that, but I would strongly encourage you to get involved and get engaged and email George or I in order to be a part of that process and part of that conversation. And Antonina's just asked, how will it be funded? We haven't talked about this actually, but so there is no funding associated with this particular call, as Georgina said. But the idea right now, the way that the node operates, the way that all the nodes operate, is that the users are responsible for identifying funding in order to access the sites and the facilities and the technologies and the image analysts. And we would have to have a conversation from the image analysis side on what the sort of charging looked like for that service and various different levels of service. But we can learn quite a lot from the way that the image analysis community have established themselves in other European countries in that respect. We do also, Georgina alluded to it, but we do also have funding from UKRI through the Euro-BioImaging node in the UK to support user access funds, and that includes data analysis. And we will be launching that imminently, and we will be asking people to apply through that fund, and there will be strict criteria. It's competitive, but if people want to be able to access data analysts and all the technology platforms, then that funding will also be available to users. So the new sites coming on board as part of this call, and hopefully through the biomedical expansion that we're launching in the next few months, we'll also be able to tap into that funding through their users. So we're hoping to support people from both sides. I hope that answers the question, but let us know if you've got additional questions on that.
Just to add that also on the European funding, user access funding, things through Euro-BioImaging, that includes both the technology access as well as the data analyst access costs. So that can be another source of user access funding that covers both of those areas. Yeah.
So we gave 90 minutes in case there was, lots of questions. If there are no more questions, we'll be writing up the questions we've had, putting that with the other frequently asked questions from the first call, and I can send that round to the registered participants and pop it on the website as well. As mentioned, Marco has kindly offered anyone to email him with any questions that they have after this call, and similarly I'm available for questions, so just email me, and I think if we are sort of if there are no final questions now, I will close the call. So this is your last chance. Speak now or do it over email.